Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and it's time to see if Mech iDeas can do a full-on figure in their action figure debut. These guys are the first two members of the Demolition Crue, Apex and Geminus, and their packaging is a delightful throwback to the sometimes forgotten sliding cardback style of Bubble Pack. I love it. Reminds me of those late 90s Final Fantasy VII figures that we all thought were so cool. Well, I did. Apex and Geminus are a pair of identical core robots with 3 pairs of unique detail moldings. The frontal prongs, middle ground level side panels, and rear ground level side panels give these brother bots their own alt mode identities. Apex has venting on his forward and middle unique parts, and small wings as his rear unique parts. The foremost greebles are also painted up like a cockpit window array. Altogether, this is a callback to the classic jump starter top spin. Apex has the least effective vehicle setup since it's a little hard to buy this techno wedge as an aerodynamic flyer, especially with such small side-mounted wings. What makes it work is the focus on vents, which evokes the idea of a futuristic hover tank that better fits the shape of this mode. Geminus, meanwhile, fully embraces the techno wedge idea, filling in his unique parts with treads, and forward-mounted drills. He lacks any cockpit deco, but given how he seems to be a giant tank that slams into things, I'm alright with that. Twin twisting like a bad mother, Geminus is definitely my favorite of the two in alt mode. By the way, I've said techno wedge more than once, and that's in part because I love the shape of these guys. It's like a perfect War Machine slope, looking and feeling oomphy to a T. If you want to further War Machine these guys up, you can plug their guns into the roofs of their vehicle modes. Also, while the hammer can break down and store in the lower trunk area to fill in that space, you can also mount it up top as a sort of large tank turret. This definitely works best with Geminus, and all these options allow you to customize and define which brother is which, beyond their basic shape and color. These guys transform way more intensely than the G1 Jumpstarters they homage. Once you've stripped the weapon accessories away, and taken some care with the little tab that locks the shins to the sides of the torso, a very fun, involved, and easy transformation awaits. You'll notice just how securely the vehicle mode locks together as you undo all the various tabs from their requisite slots. The Demolition Twins make their conversion interesting by adding a great torso flip that uses the mass of the figure extremely well. I do wish the backpacks had a solid click-in point, as they simply rotate into place after a very cool head reveal. However, that's only one qualm in the face of an otherwise fantastic transformation. Apex and Geminus are a stocky, chunky pair of white and blue robot brothers. Their proportions are a little awkward at first, but once you get used to their joints, they become pretty natural. The overall sculpt is strong, and even though most of the paintwork is used for gunmetal details, the colors that are there look good. The hands have got a bit of an overt similarity to the MMC airborne squads, with their 2 fingers out and 2 fingers in kind of look. The heads are both unique and have just enough character to get by. I kinda wish there was some sort of light piping, though. Apex's silhouette is oddly G1 Seeker-ish between the placing and shape of his wings and the tall and angled vents protruding from his shoulders. Geminus is a lot cleaner, though that makes the drills on his shoulders stick out a little bit more than I'd have liked. Together, they make a cool display duo and show a strong start for Mech iDeas on a basic design level. Starting off here, we're going to look at Geminus and his neck. He's got a ball joint for his head, and it means that there is a lot of afforded posability. He can look up and down and left and right and all over the place. Whoa. But the problem is, if you want to just simply turn his head left or right, you have to kind of tilt a little bit. He's got to have this tilted left and right look, because if you try to straight turn it, the sides of his helmet butt into the little corner of the collar down there, and it's a little bit of a bummer. Maybe if his head was seated up just a bit higher, he could have done some simple turning, but it's a bit of a minor quibble. He is still able to look around, just got to look more dynamic. The guys here do got them a waist joint, and that's quite friendly. One interesting thing about these dudes is their arms. So the arms are on a couple of very simple non-ball joints. There is a simple swivel this way, there's a simple outward swivel this way, and it's a very tough joint. It's actually a bit easier to turn this joint rather than this joint. This joint's from the transformation, but does also allow them to cross their arms in front of their chests, and it's pretty cool. For a little while, one might say, oh, I wish these things locked in back here, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's that big a problem. I'm much more picky about how I wish the backpack had locked into the back a bit more. But the cool thing about these are the elbows. So if you take a look at how this dude's arms look, they've got a nice kind of chunky, smooth aesthetic going on here, but if you look at them from the side, you'll see the elbow joints actually compress somewhat. This is a full-on double joint. Fully extended, it looks kind of weird. And in some photography where people kind of just left the arm looking like this, I thought these guys were looking kind of weird. But it's actually kind of an interesting, not perfect, but to me, very smart design of being able to compress the arms for a better standing look. Then you kind of let them out a little bit and bend them however you want, then compress them back together once they are at the angle you prefer. Or you can have them extend out, then double joint all the way up. It means that you can pretty much have full elbow articulation and not have to worry about accommodating all this stuff or messing with the look of things. Like from the side, it looks a bit funny, but I like this whole compressing thing. It reminds me a lot of some of the cool joint decisions I've seen in lines like Super Robot Chogokin, of where you can kind of hide where the joint is actually happening. There's also a bicep and a wrist swivel, so that's neat. And the rest of this dude is pretty simple. The hips are on a universal joint. There's a thigh swivel. There's a knee. It bends almost 90 degrees. If there was one major problem with the articulation, I guess it would be that it would be nice if these guys could have double jointed knees, but it's not a big deal. There's a transformation joint here, another one where at first I kind of wish this thing would click into place. I still sort of wish it would have a soft detent click, so it had like a straight position it could hold into, but in tandem with the really well done ankle tilt and foot movement, these guys can pretty much have a flat stance, and then no matter what you do, you can kind of tweak this a little bit to give them a bit of a, dynamic curve to how their legs are standing, and it's sort of nice. Like you can mush them together a little bit to have their feet closer together. If you have their legs standing apart and things are not quite doing what you need them to do, you're able to tweak this outwards a little bit just to get their stance flat. It definitely can be something that goes horribly wrong if you're like, moving them like this and then bending their knees and having everything look all funny, but it's actually an interesting articulation decision, especially on such small little guys like these. Well, sort of small, they're still deluxe size. But as far as posability goes, I'm quite happy. Like, double jointed knees and perhaps a slightly less obstructed neck joint and they would be perfect. As it is, they're still pretty friggin' cool. There's also another point of articulation, which is this thing. You can swivel this. If you want to. On this guy, it kind of helps because it lets you choose like how stuff is situated here. On this guy, it does let you choose whether you want to have the vents showing in this kind of odd G1 Seeker kind of way, or you can have them like that, or folded out like that if you just want to have everything white. It's a cool option. I think it's mostly just due to how these things connect on here, but I kind of dig that you have that much swivelable componentry going on. Componentry, that's a word, right? Okay, let's move on. Accessories! Each brother comes with 2 guns and a hammer. One nice surprise is that Apex and Geminus have unique pairs of firearms, when they could have easily had duplicate weapons and left many just as satisfied. The hammer is plain fun. It can break apart into component pieces, be wielded with 1 hand or 2 hands, and even somewhat questionably store on Apex or Geminus' forearms. The big plus of these accessories is the color. They are a gorgeous gunmetal, which works in tandem with their copious surface detail to look quite stunning. Apex and Geminus are a hit out of the ballpark, and a huge win for Mech iDeas on multiple fronts. The engineering is pretty good, there aren't any notable QC problems, the $35 price per figure is amazing to see from a small and new third-party company, and using the same plastic as Mastermind's Airborne Squad, in much thicker components, resulted in some finger-delicious polymer to be handled. Over the years, I've kind of gotten tired of discussing plastic quality, as I feel it's gotten a bit dull, a little bit rhetoric, and a lot of people don't really feel like they want to say anything other than, it's cheap, if they don't like the toy. But this plastic feels really, really good! Of course, the biggest weaknesses of these guys would be their identities. They're the jump starters, 2 blue and white dudes who turn into nondescript alien vehicles. That, plus their simpler if ingenious design likely having a hand in their low price, means that this is by no means a new general standard in third-party transforming robot toys. But it is something for every company to pay attention to, especially if Mech iDeas can maintain this pricing and quality on more realistic alt modes or more intricate engineering. Unless you've got something against their alt modes, I cannot recommend these guys enough, and would urge any transforming robot fan to get a hold of at least one of the pair. They are easily one of the best third-party packages and value propositions I've seen in the past year, and if they'd come out in 2012, I feel they would have shoved their way into a lot of personal top 10 lists for that year. Anyway, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I feel like the dream is real. I have my high-end jump starters. I guess it's time to campaign for third-party duo cons. Battle Trap for the win, baby. Battle Trap.